So maybe you know it's time to exercise. Perhaps your doctor has told you it's time to get moving a little bit more, but you don't have the motivation and you really don't even know where to start. Well, this video is for you, so let's dive in. Before we start any new activity, it's always really important to understand the why. This is going to make us more likely to actually do it and commit to it. So why do we actually need to exercise? Now, it sounds simple, I know. You know that you're supposed to exercise to maintain a healthy body. But what I find with working with clients, the number one goal is to have them maintain their mobility and to increase their quality of life as they continue to age. We know that things like cardio are important for long-term cardiovascular health. We know here in the West, especially in the United States, cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death. So of course, being more active and doing more activity is going to be helpful. But did you also know that maintaining lean muscle mass as you continue to age is one of the most important predictors of long-term quality of life and health? Yeah, it's that important. So maintaining habits such as resistance training or an even cardiovascular type exercise is really crucial. So how do you actually even get started? When working with clients and patients, the first thing that I do is to actually set small goals. Yes, I'm talking baby steps. And this is going to be dependent on, of course, where you are in your journey and how diligent you've been about exercise. You're not generally going to go from a lump on the couch to, running your first triathlon overnight. But what you can do is break things down into small steps that will eventually lead to more momentum and more consistency. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, prime example is that when I have a client who is kind of doing nothing, we'll generally start with just adding walking. Yes, just walking. Walking is great for so many reasons. It's low impact, and most of us can do it even if we have limited mobility. We can walk indoors or we can walk outdoors. Generally, I'll set the small goal of aiming for a 20 to 30 minute walk just 2 or 3 times a week. And again, it's all about meeting you wherever you are in your journey. For some clients, if you're very sedentary, this is a huge goal. For other people who are more active, this is pretty easy to do. So no matter where you are, taking these types of small goals can really help get you started so you can create some momentum. And when I say set these small goals, what I mean is to actually commit to doing these, making these a priority and making them a non-negotiable. Yes, I know life gets in the way, but I guarantee you have 20 to 30 minutes somewhere twice a week in your day. It could be that you might have to give up sitting and watching Netflix, or you might have to give up doom scrolling on Instagram. It's all about what you're going to prioritize. A lot of times when you write it in your schedule, when you block off that time and you see it pop up, you set your notification on your calendar. When it pops up, you know it's go time. And it becomes a little bit harder to ignore when it's staring you right in the face. So whether you're working with a coach or a personal trainer, having that accountability to yourself or even to a workout buddy is really important. Another tip I like to give, especially when you lack kind of the intrinsic motivation or you're just getting started, is actually to do some habit stacking. Now, I've talked about this before. This principle comes from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. But it involves using something you already do or a habit you already have as a trigger to start the new habit. So a great example could be something as simple as once you finish your morning coffee, you know it's time to go for a walk. Right? The act of putting your cup into the sink then triggers the next action of going to the door, putting on your shoes, and going outside for a walk. Or another trigger could be when you go to pick up your phone to go scrolling up, you know it's actually time to instead go for a walk or go do yoga. Using something you're already doing is a great trigger so that you can, again, build momentum so that it helps you become more consistent so that it eventually becomes a habit and a way of life. This is how we build new, healthy, and consistent and practical lifestyle changes. Now, we all know the feeling of when it's time to get up. You said you were going to work out in the morning, but your brain says, oh, just stay in bed because the bed feels so good. I know, we've all been there. So one thing that I do is actually kind of trick my brain a little bit. Sometimes I have to, in a way, bribe myself. What I'll say I'm getting up that morning and I'm supposed to do yoga. One thing I'll say if I don't feel like getting up is, oh, I'm only going to do 5 sun salutation A's. That should take me about 5-10 minutes. But what usually happens is that once I get going and once I've gotten that momentum to get started, I'll actually do more. I'll complete my full routine. Now, it may not be an hour-long practice. Maybe it's a 20-minute or a 30-minute practice. And even if it is just the 5 sun salutation A's, I've gotten up and I've done something. This leads me to my other point. in that a lot of times when I work with clients and patients, the biggest thing stopping them is this idea that it has to be perfect, or this idea of perfection. And that if they can't go all out 5 times a week and completely overhaul their lifestyle, then they don't do anything. And for most people, that's just not realistic. So letting go of the idea of it having to be perfect, especially for my type A type people out there, you know who you are, but letting go of this idea of perfection and just doing something and letting that be good enough is a huge mindset shift that you often need to make as well. Now, we know why we should be exercising. We got a few tips for getting started and getting some motivation. What should you actually be doing? Of course, there are many options out there, but we can break it down into the main categories of cardio and resistance. Now, if you are into your 30s and beyond, then I'm going to say that resistance training consistently is one of the most important things you could be doing. There are so many other things out there, but again, like I said earlier, having that lean muscle mass as we continue to age is going to be one of the most important predictors of our quality of life. So if this is like Highlander and there can be only one, I'll take the resistance training. And again, it doesn't have to be any sort of crazy routine. If you're doing nothing right now, no resistance training, you're new to it, start off twice a week. Give yourself 48 hours in between each session for recovery. Do 1 day upper body, 1 day lower body. There are so many resources out there to give you very simple compounded movements, whether you're at the gym or whether you're at home. Of course, if you need help putting something together, this is what I do inside of my coaching program, but there are also many resources available right here for free on YouTube. Now, with resistance training out of the way, the other thing I would advocate for is just simple walking. And again, 20 to 30 minutes. And if you could stack that with doing it after a meal, that's going to be even better. The walking is going to help insulin shuttle your glucose into your muscles. This is going to help you become more insulin sensitive and less insulin resistant. This is another thing that tends to creep up as we age. Again, the more muscle mass we have, the easier time we're going to have shuttling that glucose into our muscles so that it's not hanging around in your body, giving you prediabetes and diabetes. Another thing I love about walking is, of course, you can do it pretty much anywhere. If you can go outside and go walking, go outside. Being outside in nature is great for our nervous system and great for so many other things and our mental health as well. But if you're stuck inside, say you work from home, I've had many clients and recommended to many patients to actually get a small walking treadmill to go under their desk. So they raise their desk from a sit stand if they have it, or if not, just to stand up, take a 10-15 minute break and do a little bit of walking. I'll leave a recommendation of a small walking treadmill that I really like. I've recommended it to other patients and clients, and they've been really happy with the results. So I'll leave that down in the description box below. Whatever it is, just get moving. And another thing I would say, don't waste your time doing an activity that you hate. If you don't like high intensity interval training or aerobic classes, don't do them. There's so many options out there. Things like hiking, cycling, CrossFit, racquetball, pickleball. Hey, pickleball is huge here right now, but just pick something that you start with, that you get up and you get moving. All right. I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that you learned something. And if you have any questions, of course, leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye.